Okay, people. So today I am joined by Lisa Belcher, writer, director, producer, actress. And Lisa, you keep yourself busy, but I'm glad you found time to join us on the podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be here and talk, all things filmmaking or wherever the conversation takes us. So thanks for having me.
Hey, no worries. It's a pleasure. I mean, yo, you've got a new film, right? Your feature directorial debut, I believe, right?
It is correct. Yeah,
House of Abraham.
that's
Yo.
correct. Yes, it's been such an incredible journey making this film. It's been a long journey. We shot it in Austin, Texas, in spring of 2023, and it just now came out on streamers in the U.S. Just a couple weeks ago. So,
Mm.
and we did a theatrical, limited theatrical as well, which was so incredible. We had sold out screenings and we did some Q&As, and the response to the film has just been really incredible, both audiences and critics. So, as a creative, we work so hard on those things. So it's wonderful to hear audiences responding and having to stop the questions in the Q&A. And so, yeah, it's been a great journey, but here we are now out on the streamers. And so we'll see, if I mean, it seems based on the numbers, a lot of people are watching it, but we'll see.
Mm. I mean, how was that, that process for you? Because you filmed it in 2023, right? It's 2025 now, nearly 2026, which is just insane. Um, but yeah, what is it been like, that process of post-production, getting all of those nuts and bolts in the right place, ready for launching it to the world?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, do you want me to start at the beginning, or do you want me to start with post production after we filmed it, or all the things? I can share the whole story.
Hey, let's just do it all. We
All
got
right.
time.
Well, I think one of the most important things to me in filmmaking is it's such a collaborative art, and so the people we choose to work with. And so Lukas Hassel, who wrote the script and also plays the role of Abraham, he and I had worked together on another short film called Guest of Honor. If you're interested, it's a drama. You can see it on my YouTube channel. It's about 12 minutes. It did the festival circuit and had a lot of success. And we really we think a lot alike. I have so much respect for Lukas's talents, and we work really well together. And so that film was also shot in Austin. So the crew was like, let's get Lisa and Lukas kind of back together again. So we had a chat. It was like January 2022, and I was like, let's do a one-room horror. Let's figure out something that is not going to be an insane budget. Excuse me. And let's figure something out. So he pitched me the idea for House of Abraham, and then he I think he wrote a first draft, I swear, in like 30 days. It was very quick.
Mm.
And once I read it, I was immediately in, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, well, Lukas is a really incredible writer, and he really kind of masters the unexpected and the twists and turns and taking audiences on an interesting kind of journey. So
Yeah.
there's so many films out there that you kind of are predictable and you know where they're going to go. And this is not one of those films, in my opinion. So when I read the script, I was like, this is great. So kind of the unexpected journey that it takes you on, was the first thing that I loved about it. And then the second thing is kind of the subject matter. This is something a little risky that
Mm.
Hollywood may not do. And so as independent filmmakers, we really need to stand out and do something different than Hollywood if we're gonna make an impact. So I was in. I said, "Go, you keep writing," and then I put on my producer's hat and went to find the financing, and so then we went into production spring 2023. Went through post production for about a year, which I have an incredible team, editor, color, music, sound, all the things. And then spring 2024, we did a screening in LA for sort of distributors and all of that. And so, Yes, this is my first first feature film to direct, and the producing journey is a whole new thing as well. So I think from spring 2024 until we signed with our distributor was like a 4-year degree for me on learning about distribution. It's not only is it a challenging world to navigate, but also things are changing so much. So
Yes.
it was quite crazy, and uh, so we signed with our distributor called Abramorama. Yeah, about I guess yeah, springish of 2025, and then we went out into theaters, which I told you. So that was June 13th. We opened in New York to a sold out weekend, which was great. So yeah, to get it all kind of ready for that, we've really I was surprised how much I really have to have my marketing hat on, especially right now. So my background is I wanted to go to film school, but my parents were like, "No way! How are you going to pay your bills?" And so, I did go to business school and got a major in marketing. And so, I my favorite place to be is being creative and being on set. But I am not hating this process. I have this product, and I have to figure out how to get it to market and how to get people to talk about it, considering we are indie and have a very, very small budget. So people like yourself who are having me on and talking about it, I'm grateful for. And so, yeah, that's kind of the quick version of the of the journey of House of Abraham. So.
Uh-huh. Okay. I mean, when Lucas gave you the initial pitch, like, what did you think? Right? Because if someone says, a film about people going to this place to, it's kind of like, okay, that could be interesting. But it's kind of like just where he takes this is the really interesting thing that I don't think we necessarily have seen before. You know what I mean? Because we see films, people coming to a place to kind of get therapy, get help, find solutions. Like we've seen that kind of thing, but this isn't that. And that's why it's so interesting and just really well developed, and the way it evolves, the characters, just everything really syncs up nicely with this.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying all of that. And yeah, I felt the same. I feel like it's a very unique premise that we haven't seen before. So for your viewers who haven't seen anything about it yet, I'll give the quick sort of like what the story is about. So, the House of Abraham is kind of this mysterious cult, we like to call it. And so, Abraham is this charismatic man who invites 6 people to his home for a weekend to assist them with ending their lives. So, yes, it's heavy, it's dark. But then when Dee arrives, our protagonist, played by Natasha Henstridge, we think she is suicidal, but she actually has a secret agenda. So it takes the weekend and all these different kind of twists and turns. And while the subject of suicide is very sensitive, in fact, funny little in between us, backstory. The original title was actually House of Suicide, but so from a marketing perspective and talking to distributors initially, they were like, "No way, you can't use that
Mm,
word." I believe it's like, you can't use it in writing on social media. You'll get, your posts taken down, things like
yeah.
that. So, so getting into the story, there's really not a way to avoid saying those words and talking about end of life. But once we get into it, as you've seen, it's really not about that. It's
Mm,
about, if I was to say there's kind of an overarching theme, it would be about manipulation, because when these people
yeah.
get there, right, they're at their lowest point. I can't think of a lower point for a human being than wanting to considering leaving this world. And Abraham really takes advantage of these vulnerable people in those positions and sort of manipulates them. And so it's a little bit of a commentary kind of what's going on in our world a little bit right now. It's so crazy, and there's so much happening with our media and people in power. And anyways, just be careful who you trust. It's kind of
Mm.
the cautionary tale.
Yeah, I mean, also though, right? I feel that there is, there's the Abraham manipulation, but then also we have manipulation with Jonathan and Shannon in a way,
Absolutely.
you know,
That's
which is a really, which again, it's interesting because it's the layers of the film. And, you know, it is that thing, like relationships aren't always equal. And there are people that kind of put themselves on other people. So just that aspect of it was extremely compelling too.
that is a really interesting point that you bring up. Yeah, because yeah, in relationships sometimes it's like this, and Shannon is very I don't want to say weak, but she's clearly fallen for him and is madly in love with him and willing to do anything for him, including end her life, which is
Mm.
quite intense. And then of course Abraham rolls in on the side and takes advantage of that as well. What a gift, you're giving him your life, and because Abraham wants them to get to die. That's what he's looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. I mean, there were so many things to enjoy about this film. I mean, firstly, Lucas's writing was phenomenal. Like, I think the information he gives us and the things that we can kind of see, but it's not laid out, right? Like the relationship between Beatrice and Abraham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Because I think when you're watching it, you can see these things, but we don't necessarily get their backstory. But there are things that are alluded to, there are things that are hinted at, and that's great, right? Because you're just like, oh shit, where has this been before, right? You know what I mean? What else has happened? How did we get to this point, right? What levels of manipulation have been going on here? So you
Yeah.
get all of that, which is, really interesting. And then it's seeing the way he kind of works on people, right?
All right.
But
Yeah.
he seems, like the way I think you perceive Abraham at the beginning, he kind of, you know what I mean? You kind of look at him like a snake oil salesman, right?
Yeah, that's good.
But as the film goes on, you start to see these other things, which is like to be able to breadcrumb that is such a skill, because it's, you know what I mean, it's all these subtle little things, movements, looks. And I think one of my favorite scenes has to be the swimming pool.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Right.
was the way you shot and put that together. That was phenomenal. That
Yeah.
was
Thanks.
such a great, because we see them go in and then our angle changes. So we're kind of descending with them. And then we're seeing through the bar, like just, man, that was a really tremendous scene. Like, how was that to, put together to shoot? Like, what were you envisioning with all of that? And did it come out exactly how you intended? Like, you know what I mean?
That's a great question, and I think as a filmmaker, I always have a vision up here, and it's never that,
Mm,
but it's a version of that. And most of the times, knock on wood, it's been better than that. But they say you make the film three times. You write one, and then you shoot one, and then and then the edit
yeah.
comes together in a different way. So it's I mean, it's my favorite thing to do is to craft a story and honor each of the different stages. And if you are respectful to those, then the best kind of magic can come out of it. So in the first stage writing, you know, when Lukas would send me drafts, we would kind of collaborate and talk things through and think, you know, how it would go. And then going into production and bringing the whole team on. So building the cage, we had a special effects guy in Austin that literally built that together with steel, and he welded it. And I remember the process of building it. And one of the things that I love and that he happens to love, we just found, it was symmetry. So it's the way it's set up is all the bars and all of that and whatever. But so that was one of the first things, was building the cage, and then how is it going to lock down and all of that. And so I'll skip for a second as I'm saying having it locked. Like, sound design was a huge part, as well as music for that scene, for it coming together. So the moment that when the cage locks down and he's under the water and it's like, okay, there's no getting out of here, you know, that lock that he built, I wanted it to look very, like, just hefty and strong and impossible to break, right? But then, you know, I don't even know if it had a sound underwater, but then the sound that my Nathan Rule, who's my sound designer, created, it's and then the reverb of the sound and the heaviness of it, you know, it has to be calm. It's really you know, hitting down. But yeah, and as far as filming it went, obviously we had cameras outside of the water, cameras under the water. I think we did a whole day and a half on that scene. And, you know, the actors, wow. You know, Will Magnuso, who plays the role of Jonathan, he just brought his A+ game and was down for anything. And so obviously safety was a big piece of that. Yeah. So he and Lukas being in the pool, and then we had our stunt coordinator was there with the team kind of further away from the cage, ready to hop in. And then the top part of the cage that was actually just put on with Velcro. So if he needed to, he could hop up and take it out. But Will has said in some interviews, you know, he really prepared for this role, and he got to multiple minutes that he could stay underwater. But that's when no one else is around, and you're not filming, and you're not acting, and you're just underwater. I swear he said 6 minutes, but I could be off. But it was some crazy number. But then he says we get there, and he's struggling under there and trying and acting, and then having everybody else around, that, you know, that makes it harder to stay underwater. So we would just get what we could get. He would come up, take a breath, and we'd go again. So yeah, it was a really fun scene. And we had to heat the pool because those guys were in the pool all day. I've heard Lukas say, like, his eyes were like, because he had his eyes open so much underwater, the chlorine got to him. And so it was challenging on those guys, but man, they nailed it. And I think even after I've seen it probably hundreds and hundreds of times, I still like hold my breath and get tight when I watch that scene. So
I mean, when Jonathan puts his arm through the bar, you're just like, Jesus Christ. It's just, oh man, it is such a powerful scene because you really get a true glimpse of who Abraham is with that. And just when we're looking through Jonathan's eyes at Abraham, oh my days, that was so good.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm really happy. You know, there was a moment during pre-production and looking at budget and all the things that was, you know, considering cutting that scene, because it was obviously took time and it's expensive and all of that. But I think it's kind of a big changing point. It's right in the middle of the film, and it's kind of where stuff really starts going bad. Yeah, I'm really proud of that scene. I love it.
Oh man. Yeah, no, it is definitely, that point, that pivotal moment, because we have things alluded to, but that's like the first one that we actually see take place.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so, you know, and as I said, that's when you really start to go, yo, this is something ain't right here.
Yeah, yeah, just a little bit. Something's just a little off. Yeah, I think the character of Abraham is so intriguing to me. The way Lucas wrote him, and then the way he performed the role. It's like I use that word, charismatic. He is well, and then Lucas, of course, is just so handsome himself. So it works great at welcoming everybody to his house and offering the food and all of the things. He just has the perfect even though we don't use the word cult in the film, he is very cult leader and manipulative. And I know Lucas did some research into cult leaders and how they act and how they get the best of people. And I think this is a psychological thriller / horror. I think it works for thriller audiences as well as horror audiences. It's not a typical slasher film with, there's a little bit of blood in there, but not tons. But I still, even though there's not a supernatural ghost or a monster or anything like that, like the monster in this story, as I said before, is human nature, and that is really, really scary. Because I don't know, just that's what gets me.
Well, I think it's the thing that gets you really with certain things. You'll watch a Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Friday the 13th, and things that, people love those films. But I think you can go, well, what are the chances, right? That's not going to happen. But something like this shit happens.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen news reports, right? We've watched documentaries. We had David Koresh, we've had Jimmy Jones, we've had so many different templates of these people. So this could actually happen.
Well, I think, some of the ones that you mentioned, I've often asked myself, like, how you put yourself in the shoes of the people that were their victims, right? Like, how could that really happen? And it's a slow burn. And I like to think you get a glimpse into that slow burn in our film of how it seems okay at first. And the character of Victor, who when he arrives, he has early onset Alzheimer's or early stages of it. So he doesn't want to put his family through that. And so that's why he comes to the house. But he is kind of our moral compass and really kind of calls Abraham out. Like, what are you doing here? And he sees it sort of early on, but then the others are kind of sucked in. And so it's every person is different and has different views of that. So, yeah.
With something like this, I think it's all about the reveal, right? How long you wait to kind of show the true colors and natures of, the individuals, the protagonists, right? And just all of those kind of things. So through the different stages of the script, did that get played around with a lot, right? Were there times when you'd be like, oh, actually, let's move that back a little bit, to give it a real impact?
God, that's a really cool question. Yeah, that'd be almost more of a question for Lucas during the writing, but I don't know. Clearly, this film was meant to be because it just like poured out of him. And he really, one of his biggest strengths is he writes with the edit in mind. And so the final film is very close to the way the script looks.
Okay.
But as far as the reveal pieces go, one of the pieces for me was kind of that, like the break into Act 2 when, we're not in Kansas anymore. There's something up here as we follow Dee, our protagonist. And I think that moment is when, and some of this stuff is into the trailer, so I'm not really spoiling, but she sees Beatrice kind of going through someone's suitcase. And in that moment, she's like, wait, hold on, stop. Like, are we allowed to leave this place? Is it as friendly and open as it is or not? And so there's the moment with Dee where she realizes, nope, this is something different, and I need to kind of fight off against that. So, and then we reveal, I think it's right after that scene, that Dee has a different reason for being here. You know, we think she's there for suicide, and some of this shows in the trailer as well. She's got a little recording camera that she's, you know, trying to catch what's happening. Why is she doing that? What's her motivation? Why is she really here? So you can only answer that if you watch the film. But yeah, those moments, and then the moments of Abraham, of when we see kind of his true colors, and he's done this many times before.
Yeah.
He's an expert at it. He's had people push back. He knows, he has all of his tricks, and there's a moment where he shows some videos of people who died and came back to life, and they're regretting that. And so he shows these videos to the people at the house to encourage them, you know, death is a good thing. You know, you remember, this is why you came here. Stick to your guns. He's like a motivational speaker, but for the negative, you know, reason. So he has a very well-oiled machine until some shit starts going wrong, and then he gets frazzled, and that is when you get to see in the deep, dark sort of soul of Abraham, which is when a lot of the horror aspects begin, and it's exciting.
Oh man, yeah, it really is. Those videos were crazy too, because I think we've heard the stories, right? I actually, oh man, it was early days of the podcast. I spoke to there was a documentary about a guy. His name was Kevin something. Can't quite remember. So I spoke to him and I think a psychologist, and there was someone else on, and he had actually tried to jump off, I think, the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay.
But he survived. Well, obviously he survived. But and I've heard this so many times, like, the minute your feet leave, the regret hits you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. He's like, yeah, the minute I stepped off, I was like, oh no. But now you're falling. And so it's just, you know, everything, like, what have I done to my parents? What have I, you know, all of these things go through your head. So, you know, we've heard those stories.
Wait, you had this guy on your podcast?
Yeah. I had him on the podcast.
I would love to. I've heard of his story.
Wow. It was so interesting.
Well, on the note of suicide, I found this kind of fascinating. So the organization called NAMI, they're the National Association of Mental Illness. They came and watched the film when we had a little cast and crew screening in Austin, and wanted to collaborate. And at first I was like, wait, what? This is a thriller horror. Like, how is this going to help anyone, mental health? But they said that just talking about difficult subjects, suicide, and at the beginning of this, I was just a little, oh no, I didn't want to say suicide. I'm worried to offend someone or say something wrong. And it's very scary. And those who have gone through it, I can't even imagine to have family to do something like that. But I had an experience when the trailer came out. I went out, had a glass of wine with 3 other women. One of them I knew and the other 2 I didn't. And they had all watched the trailer, and just the subject of suicide came up, and everyone was just very open and honest. And one woman shared that when she was 12 years old, she tried it, and she shared her experience with that. And the other woman's child had tried to kill himself. And the conversation was so real and honest and open. And anyway, I guess my point is, maybe there is something to that about talking about hard subjects. Lukas always says there's never a subject he's afraid to talk about, hence him writing about this difficult subject. So if in some world somewhere, somehow it helps someone, that'd be pretty awesome. But, I think on the surface, at least, it's for entertainment, and then we'll maybe leave it there.
But I think I think a big thing with this is it kind of shows that people will try and manipulate you, right? There was that story, it was during lockdown. I remember, I think it was students at Boston University, and a guy's girlfriend convinced him to kill himself. And like he would, like, he was depressed, and he'd be like, he'd say to her, I think I'm gonna kill myself, and she'd be like, why don't you do it? You're too chicken to do. So it wasn't necessarily she just out of the blue was like, hey, why don't you kill yourself? But he had said that's what I'm gonna do, and she was like, nah, you're not gonna do it. You're too chicken. You would never do it. And then he did it because she was getting they were, you know, it went to court and everything, and they were, I think people were trying to get her to have the death penalty, and it was just whether to charge it as manslaughter, first degree, just all of these kind of things that they were going through. And I can't remember how it ended. I think she went to jail, but didn't get wasn't on death row or anything like that. But I forget how long she got. But people, right, who you think are your friends, who you think have got your back, might not, right? So if someone could be going, yeah, just do it, you haven't got much to. And I think something like this kind of shows you that there's nefarious people out there, you know what I mean? And I think it is important to talk about these things, to show these things, because if there's no reference to something, when someone experiences it, they might think I'm the only one, right?
Yeah.
No one else has gone through this. No one else understands what this is, right? So it's just, we need to have conversations about all of these different things.
No, I think you really make a true point. I think in anything in life that's tough that we're going through, if you find someone else that's having the same experience, it's so I don't want to say refreshing, but it's like, okay, I'm not alone here. I'm not the only one. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. I making, and because, you know, with, and I will say, I do think the name you went with is better than House of Suicide.
Thank you. I love the title House of Abraham. I do.
Yeah, because it just, it's kind of mysterious. It's kind of like, what? So what is this, right? But House of Suicide, it's just on the nose, right? It's like, okay, so it's about suicide. But House of Abraham, you're just like, yo, what is this?
Yeah, I love Lucas's choice of that name for the character, because the word Abraham, once in a great while, we'll get someone like, oh, is this faith based? And quickly, life is not for everyone. That's the log line, or not the title, whatever tagline. But I love the name Abraham. It's very, like, it's heavy in your mouth. It's a weighted, strong, kind of a name. It's not Jim. No offense to any of the Jims out there, but Abraham with the multiple. I don't know. I love the name, and it works well, I think.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I think that is the beauty of storytelling, right? It's finding those little things that really help a story stand out, right? It's the naming of a character, it's the naming of a place, right? It's just all of these things can really shift someone's perspective of something.
Yeah, it brings some reality to it, and that's what we want as filmmakers. We're telling stories, but the idea is to immerse the audience into this fictional world that we've created, and hopefully they buy in, and they lean in, and they're interested in what's going to happen next, and they care about those characters and their choices, or what happens to them. I think when I read the script and as I watched the movie, I've a lot of empathy for all the characters, but specifically I'll bring up Victor. He just,
Mm,
my heart breaks for Victor. He was trying to do the right thing. I mean, his kind of, backstory is that he's trying to help out his family, not having to go through that. And
yeah.
people who've had family members experience, it's, that's a tough thing. And another one I found empathy for was kind of in the filming process. So, um, excuse me, was Beatrice. And so when Lynn Shay arrived at set, the very first scene that we shot with her was when she and Abraham are kind of standing by the sliding glass doors, and they're looking.
Oh God, that
Yeah.
scene. Oh man, that was another. This, I think. Sorry to interrupt you, right?
No, go.
I
wanna hear
just
it.
have to say, right? Every one of your frigging cast killed it, right? It didn't really matter how long they were on screen. They really brought the essence of their character. And I think Lynn was magnificent as Beatrice. And that scene, that freaking scene,
Yeah.
there's, I think, with things like you'll watch a film, right? And you'll have like someone helping, the main villain, as it were, do certain things. And you're just like, but why? Like, why are they, and there doesn't seem any rhyme or reason why this person is doing the thing.
Mhm.
But in this film, you know why, right? Like, it is. And that scene just really puts the nails why. And you're just like, yo, oh my God. Ah, it was fantastic. That was
Oh well, no, that's good. That, yeah, and I'm happy that we shot. I mean, non-filmmakers, we don't ever shoot it in the order it is. We have to shoot it based on availability of actors and location and weather and all the things. So that was the first scene with Lynn in it, and to see them interact and all of that, I realized, while we do find out later Beatrice does some unspeakable things,
mm,
but I, as at least when I sit in the audience, I have empathy for her character, and that scene really did it for me. So I'm glad, as the director, that we had that scene first to sort of establish, okay, we knew the relationship between her and Abraham, but that scene really brought it to life, I guess. And so yeah, so you, even though she's going through this crazy stuff at the end, your heart still kind of breaks for her a little bit. Like,
yes. I mean, with shooting that first, though, right? Because I mean, when you first start watching films and, TV and you seeing all of these stories, you do think, oh, so it is put together from beginning to end, right? So it was, I think yeah, I feel, I can't remember if it was actually through doing this, or maybe I'd, I maybe have seen it in an interview before, but when you find out that the film is shot out of sequence, that's really interesting, right? And I think this film, especially, right, because that scene, there is so much weight to that scene. So the time you get to it as a viewer, right, you're so immersed, you're so locked in with these people. But to shoot that first, right? So you have to get these characters, these actors, to get into this character at a state where it is dialed right up, right? So when you're putting this together, what are you telling, right, Lukas and Lynn? Like, how do you kind of work with your cast when you're like shooting certain scenes, or are you more hands off and you're just like, look, I've cast these people because I know they can deliver these things, right? What's your kind of process?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that's probably my favorite thing about directing is working with actors. And every actor is different, just like every human being is different. And so I am there to figure out what they need from me, what level of, I'll use the word involvement. Of course, I'm there and involved the whole time. But so to ask that particular scene, I mean, obviously Lucas and I, first of all, we worked together and known each other for years. Lucas wrote the role of Abraham, so and he is super professional and came prepared, as did Lynn, as did everybody. So it's if things are working and I'm getting what I need, I don't really say a lot. I'll give a little thumbs up, or just so they know if they, but yeah. So if there isn't a lot of need there, then that's what I'll do. But working with Marval Rex, I ended up we talked through the character of Alex a lot, probably the most of the whole cast. And I think this is just Marvel liked the process of talking through, and it was helpful to balance off the ideas and all of that. And so that's my job there. And then getting to know both Lynn and Natasha, actually a lot of the actors that I had never worked with before. It's like, you have to hurry up and get to know somebody, and not that I have to prove this to them, but I want them to feel confident, safe in an environment that can let everything go and know that I've got their back and I'm watching, monitor. And I've worked with some actors before that freak out and are worried. And I remember I had to pull someone aside once, and I told her, I said, listen, not on this film, and said, listen, just don't. She would kind of cut herself in the middle of the, like stop the performance and restart. Right. And I said, just, you have to trust that my name's on this too. I am not going to let this scene go through unless we get it right. So just go for it and do it. And if it's not working, we'll talk about it, but just let it go, and, so I want to make sure that the actors know. I mean, the casting is probably the biggest tool that I have, because if there's some incredible actors out there that can really change and create and make a character, but in the casting process, the sort of look and the essence of that human being has to match the character. They have to have the talent and be, to be able to bring it. And then the third thing, and not in any particular order, is just them as human being. And are they willing to come to set with a good attitude and work hard, or are they going to be a diva and be an asshole, So I was very, very blessed to have an incredible cast on this. Everybody, brought their A game. And I remember working with Lynn on that scene. And Lynn and I have really stayed in touch since then. And she's just a lovely human being and so supportive and so doesn't have an ego. And so when she came to set that day, she had it was a fun little story. She had some ideas about Beatrice and costume. And so, as you can kind of tell in the story, it's kind of, subtle to Lucas's writing, is Beatrice's kind of backstory is that she's madly in love with Abraham. It's just kind of, and that's what Lynn kind of showed up with. And I'm like, yes, let's go with that for sure. So she says, I think Beatrice should wear a French maid's outfit. And I was like, okay, that's hilarious. And I get it, but it didn't quite fit the tone of where I needed to the film. And so I wanted, but at the same time, and this went for every actor, I want to always respect and consider their ideas, because their job is to bring ideas and to bring, material and how her, she wants to bring Beatrice, to life. And so, so in that particular scene, she also wanted to have this push-up bra on. And so we nixed the French maid outfit. But so in that scene, I was like, okay, let's play. Let's see how it goes. So she rolls up, and remember, she comes up right next to Abraham, which, I mean, Lynn is tiny and Lucas is so tall. So they're just, it works perfectly, the way they kind of fit together. So she kind of rolls up, and they're looking at D, and she kind of puts out her boobs, and the shirt pops open a little bit, and there's a little cleavage there. And while it was funny as we were laughing there on set, I said, okay, now let's do it again without that. And that was just a little too campy for the tone of the story. But again, she brought those ideas and we tried them, and then it ended up not working. But we have to try the things, and the actors have to feel confident and trusted that they can let it go. So yeah.
Uh-huh. I'm kind of curious, right? This might seem like a weird tangent, but because you know what I mean, you've got your marketing degree, and yeah, that's similar to myself, right?
Yeah.
There's when you've got your team together and you're talking about a campaign or something like that. I always say, yo, ask anything, right? Because even if it's your suggestion isn't quite right for what we're doing, it can still steer us in the right direction at times. You know what I mean? So I think you want to hear all the concerns, right? All the ideas. Like, there's been times when people have said something and I'm like, yo, that's really interesting, but we can't do it because of this and this. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, yo, but it's good that you're thinking like that, right? Because you're kind of thinking in the right direction, but you just have to consider these kind of factors. But then it kind of leads you somewhere else. And you're like, yo, but we can't do that, but we can do this.
Yep.
And you get to go to these great places and elevate things. So did that background help in that transition to directing? Because you know what I mean, you're used to just being open with ideas and everything like that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm going to swing it a whole different way, because so I majored in marketing, and then I went into the retail business a little bit, sort of management, and I worked for Macy's right out of school and was in their management training program and the buying office and all that. So that's kind of where my career started, and then I got into technology and sales. But in all of those roles, I did a lot of management, and so I managed departments in the retail store, and then I had a store that I managed a whole team in a store, and then in sales and recruiting, I managed a recruiting office, and so that particular skill of management really has helped me in directing. And I remember one of the corporations I worked for put us all through these personality tests. And you've heard the Myers-Briggs and all, but this one had colors to it. I can't remember what it was called, but I remember my team, and I had one employee who worked with me, and she was amazing, and she was such a hard worker and everything, but we were very different human beings. And I could tell things that motivated her may not motivate me, and vice versa, or whatever. And so I remember we took the test, and she came out this one area, and it was like, I'm not going to get it exactly right with her, but it was things like words of affirmation frequently is really helpful with her. Whereas I had other employees that were like, no, don't get in my business. Like, I feel more confident doing my stuff and giving them more space. And so that's the same thing as directing. I sometimes say, like, I don't bring any one unique thing to the table, but I have costume designers, and I've got my cinematographer, and then I've got the actors, and everybody. It's such a thrill for me to see people excel in their individual areas. And if I can be there to make them be even better at what they're doing, that's incredible. And like I said, every employee, everyone on set, every crew member, every actor has different ways that they thrive. And I don't know, it's really fun. And I just this weekend directing the music video for which I guess we'll transition to the band The Hawthorne Experience. So they have a song called Lucy that opens the film over the opening credits and then closes the film. And they're a band here in Tucson, Arizona, where I am right now. Anyway, working on set with them, they haven't done. Each of them had maybe a little bit of acting experience, but I remember purposefully pulling them aside and telling them, listen, I chose to be here. I chose your music because you guys have incredible talent, and I'm a big fan of what you do. And we're here today because this is I trust and I know that you're going to deliver what we need, and I've got your back. So just trust in me and try things. And if things don't work, it's fine. We'll just cut it out later. But I
Mm.
think in maybe all things, I don't know, going in with a level of confidence, knowing that you're in the right place and you're bringing what you have that has value. Having that knowledge in here, I think, allows us to perform even better than we would have. So anyway, all that to say, yes, my history and my career in business and all of that has come to serve me well, and hopefully the people around me as well. So
Well, I mean, if the proof is in the pudding, then the proof is in the pudding, because House of Abraham, I mean, like, as a first feature, hot damn, right? Like, you watch it, you would think you are mad seasoned in this shit, right? You think
oh
you've made so many films because it just works on so many levels, right? When you think about like psychological thrillers, like Abraham is, like, I don't know, this generation's Hannibal Lecter, right? Because you're always trying to find that villain, that person that just magnifies a scene, right? That you can really go, oh God, I just want to,
yeah,
that person, that's a piece of shit. What the fuck? Like,
yeah,
that you feel about.
you
And
react, yeah.
yeah, and there's so many times that you're just like, don't really. I remember watching, I think it was like, oh, Die Die Hard 4, I think was the one with Samuel Jackson, I believe.
Can't
So I
remember.
think it would be Die Hard 5, right? I think it was all about like technology. The person was taking over things with tech, and the villain was just, it just felt a little flat, right? The villain didn't feel big enough for this big action flick. And there's other films where you just think, the villain doesn't feel right. But in this, Abraham, that's just the perfect person to get people all like up in their feelings, right? So
Yeah.
just all of these things with this film just work so well, right? It can stand there with things like Usual Suspects, like Seven, like just all of these. So
Nice.
yeah, no, like basically you just kicked ass with this film, Lisa.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it, and I hope the whole world gets a chance to see it. It's out there, and our whole team. It was an incredible team on all levels, from in front of the camera to behind the camera, and so that's I think if it's working like you say it is, then that's where all the credit goes. So yeah.
I mean, it definitely is working because you're watching the film, and we get the little bit at the beginning, right? So you're just like, okay, all right, so where are we going to go? And then we've got D turn up at the place, and so you're just like, okay. And then you get this sense that D is there for something else, but I think you have an assumption of why she's there, right? And I think the beauty of the film is because there's so many things that you'll watch, and from the beginning, you know exactly where it's going. Like, it can still be a good film, you can still enjoy it, but it's just like, I knew where it was going,
Yeah.
right? I'm not surprised by the ending, you know? But when a film really works, you're just like, wait, what the fuck just happened there? Like, I didn't think they were gonna do that. Wait, they did that? Yo. You know what I mean? That's what this film does, because there's so many things that happen that you just do not see coming. And that's fantastic. So to be able to have this as a first feature, that's tremendous. Like, you must feel so good about this film.
I do, and I think I learned this early on. I have directed a handful of short films, and I remember with my first short, sharing the first cut with a few people, and someone had one opinion about something, and someone had the complete opposite opinion, and I could be a bit of a pleaser in my non-filmmaking life, and I
Oh, you can
realized
be a Shannon.
yeah. There you go. Good. I like that. Yeah, exactly. And so I thought, how am I gonna, do what this person said, and then do what this person said? And I realized within that film, if not the next film, that I really have to make the film for one audience member, and that's for me. And
Mm,
I think then, not in a selfish way, but in a clear vision and clear tone sort of manner. And it's going to be for some people, and it's not going to be for other people. But I think if you try to pick and choose from all these different ideas and everything, then you're left with kind of a shit show, and it doesn't work at all. Um, so I do love the film, because you were asking. I've sat in many theaters and watched it over and over. And as a creative and as an artist, of course, there are little bits and things that I go, huh, okay, we could have done that better. But also, we didn't have a huge budget, and I'm pretty freaking proud of this film. And yeah, and I'm glad that you had me on to talk about it. So
mm. Well, I mean, it doesn't feel like it's a small budget film. Like,
thanks.
you know what I mean? It doesn't, like, there's not a bit and you're like, that looks a little hokey, or
Yeah.
I wish they could have, found a way to do that a bit better. You know what I mean? It just feels mad polished. It feels like it's a big studio film. And I
Well,
think that's
thank
one
you.
of the great things about something like this. There is nothing in the film that throws you out of the experience.
Oh, that's probably the best compliment I could ever hear. I feel that's, you know, first and foremost, at least for me in a film and in the storytelling is the story, and that has to be nice and tight, and not have any issues with it. And like I said, when I read his script, I'm like, this is great. And then the next thing I think is really falls on the actors and the performance, and
Mm,
are you buying into who these characters are based on the performance they're giving? And then all the other things are extremely important: the sound, the cinematography, all the special effects, all of that is really important. But if those aren't working, then that pulls you out of the story. If they
yeah.
are working, you stay in the story, and maybe you don't notice the sound design, but that's a good thing. If you notice, I
Mm.
always say, if someone goes, "Oh wow, the sound design was really good," I'm like, "Uh-oh, what do we do wrong?" But the sound design was excellent on this film,
Mm.
I believe, and that's because it kept us in the story. That's the job.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That's the thing. Just as I said, all the elements work, right? When you did your screenings and blah, the short the theater run, the cinema run. um,
Yeah.
like, when you were in that first screening, was there were you saying to yourself, if they buy into this one scene, I know I've got them?
So yeah, I don't know. I didn't have anything exactly like that. But prior to us opening in New York, we had two other screenings. The first one was it wasn't a rough cut, but it didn't have the color or the sound design or any of that done. And I did it for a bunch of film kind of friends in Austin, sort of like a focus group type. And
Mm,
I had a questionnaire, and I asked people things and whatever, and it was great. So I guess along the lines of that, as far as what was surprising is, I remember Lars Gustafson, my editor, and I sat in the back and just observed all the people and listened to the responses, and there was a lot of laughter. And I was like, what is happening? What is, because it's a very straight film, I guess, for lack of a better word. But some of the, there are some comedic points in the film. The character of Alex delivers a few of those. I expected those. But Abraham, some of his ridiculously evil, horrifying things that he does garnered a few laughs in the end, actually a lot of laughs. And I was like, what is this? And so, then I've watched some horror in my life, but not a ton of it, to be honest. And people say that horror and comedy are sort of related, and the horror, when someone is so horrified by something, to relieve a little bit of that tension, a laugh is kind of what happens. So anyway, I love being in a packed house and hearing the laughter and the comments, and there's always a couple people that find it really funny or whatever. So yeah, but no, I don't think there was anything. I guess the first screening we had, the dining room scene, it was
right.
It was 14 pages. The rough cut was like 20 minutes long, and there's a lot of I don't want to say exposition, because Lucas's writing is really good. There's a lot of things you need to know about the story that happen in that one room. And so that's, I think after that screening, that's the one thing I did. I took some, stuff out of that, like anything that we didn't need for the story, I sucked it out. And I think that dining room scene is now down to about 6 minutes. And it just hits the keynotes that it needs. And it's, it is hard when you film something, if there's a great performance or some cool special effect, to cut it out. But if it doesn't serve the story and it takes people out, and one thing that can take people out is when stuff goes on and on and on,
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the experience of seeing it in a theater for the first time.
And did it live up to the thought of what it would be, right? Because I guess, there's a lot of people that say, I'm going to make a film, but never make that film. So, when you go and I'm going to make a film and I'm going to have it in cinemas and, and then it's going to do, like, you think about certain parts of the process. So in the thinking of, and then the reality of, like, how did that mirror up for you?
Well, I think, got kind of a multi-layered answer here. In order to pull off any sort of project in life, you have to have a plan, right? And you have to look into the future. But my kind of nature, my personality, not to sound sort of cheesy and cliche, but I live for the moment. And I think in this moment right here, this is where life happens. And so, that another cliche thing, it's about the journey, not the destination. And so I think, I guess I would say I have to enjoy the journey as we go, and put in the hard work in those moments. And maybe because of that, it turns out, good in the end. But like, I remember when we got to set, I gathered everybody around, because we don't get to be on set that often. There's so many other things that are not in the creative process. So I said, guys, let's take a deep breath and be present, because we had 18 days and those days went by really fast, and we want to enjoy and bring our best selves and all of that to the experience. So to try to answer your question, as far as the result of it, I also just kind of follow my gut on things, and my gut on all the people that we worked with. I knew we had a great team. There were some people that were new for me to work with, but Lukas and I had worked together before, and I knew Lukas and I had what it took to create something great, because we'd done it before. So I suspected we would create something great, but the results, there's oftentimes that I feel surprised. And right now in this conversation, things that you said just a minute ago, you said Abraham is the modern day Hannibal Lecter. What? I'm gonna say that out loud again. Like that's great. I'm gonna steal that. I'm not gonna steal it, but I'm gonna give you credit for it. Like that's kind of the joy of putting it out there in the world. And it's a very vulnerable thing to put your work out and go, okay, judge it, because that's what everybody's going to do. They're going to talk about it and have their opinions, and you know, most of the judgment has been good, which is great. But you know, if people have other opinions and whatever, that's what it's there for. So yeah, the final result, on the one hand, I knew we were going to make something special and amazing, but on the other hand, I'm shocked and surprised. And in indie filmmaking, it's shocking that anything happens. And given the small budget and the small amount of time that we have, it is pretty amazing how good it turned out. So yeah.
Oh man, that is, yeah, it's great, and I guess that is the one thing, right? Being indie, you don't have that big marketing machine behind you to try and push it out to the world. So it's finding those ways to get people enticed and to get them to watch the film, right? So
yeah. Well, that's why, like I said a minute ago, I'm really grateful for people like you who have an audience, who are talking about it. And then, at the end of every screen, I've always asked people, and anyone out there listening, if you've seen it, please, tell your friends, help us out, and spread the word. We've got the ability to rank the film or rate the film. It's on like IMDb, Letterboxd, Rotten Tomatoes, and then if you happen to rent it on Amazon, I think you have to rent it on Amazon in order to review it there. But those reviews really help us as indie filmmakers. Hollywood, I think, typically spends the same amount of money on marketing as they do on the film. So think about like Barbie, those millions and millions of dollars. I always think about Barbie with the marketing, because remember, pink was everywhere when it was coming out, and they did an excellent job with the marketing and all of that. But yeah, I don't have those Barbie dollars. So I rely on all of you out there. If you liked it and you want more stuff to happen, then tell your friends.
How can people find out more about the film, Lisa?
Awesome question. We're kind of all over the place on this. We're on social media. It's House of Abraham Movie. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And then a great resource for the film is our website, is houseofabrahammovie.com. So you can find out everything you need there. The trailer's on there and where we're streaming and all of that, but I'll tell you here. So right now we are, you can rent and buy, not on every platform, but Amazon, Apple, Google Play, and YouTube. And then we're also available on our website. If you click on the app that says Gather. So no one has really heard of Gather. They don't do a lot of marketing, but they're kind of a video on demand marketplace that allows indie filmmakers to kind of connect directly with our audiences. So if you watch it there, I think we take home about 82 cents on the dollar. If you watch it on Amazon and all of those, I think we're lucky if we get about 35 cents to 40 cents.
Whoa, that's a big difference.
It is a big difference. With Gather, though, you have to take a moment, and you can upload the app, I think, to your smart TV, and you have to put in your credit card. So I know it's an extra step, but we appreciate it as filmmakers, because we get, more of the money comes our way. And then we also get more information as to, when it was watched and all that marketing stuff, which helps us to push it out there even more. So yeah.
Have you ever thought about streaming from your website itself? Because I know Louis C.K. now uses that model, because I think he signed contracts where all the rights revert back to him. So now he's got the Louis Show, Horse and Pete, and just all the things on his website. And I think you can buy it, you can rent it. There's different ways you can interact with it. So having it there, you get all the information.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty comparable to what Gather does, because Gather is sort of embedded in our website. But I don't know exactly what Louis C.K. does, but he probably has more resources to invest in the interface of how it works in the website, which is cool, which I don't have. But Gather's website is very beautiful, and it's easy to watch on there, and you can just watch it on your computer, or like I said, upload the app. So that 15+%, whatever the math is there, 17 I think % that we give over to Gather, for me, is worth it, because it's you know, I don't have to go through the whole, you know, they have it all uploaded there and it's easy. So yeah.
Nice. Okay. So that's how people can watch the film. How can they keep track of everything you're doing, Lisa? Because after watching House of Abrahams, everyone will want to know what you're doing.
Oh,
So
thanks.
let them know.
Yeah, well, so I have a production company that's called Jump Rock Pictures that's headquartered in Austin, Texas. So jumprockpictures.com is my website there. And then just follow me on the socials, Lisa Belcher on Instagram, Facebook. I'm really not good at TikTok, but I do have a page on there. So follow me so it gets bigger. And like I said, I just directed the music video. I think I just said that for the Hawthorne Experience. So that will be coming soon. Oh, and then pause back on House of Abraham. It is coming on DVD and Blu-ray. Also, I forgot to say that.
Ooh.
So you can pre-order. I think in sometime in the middle of December or later in December. The pre-order link will be on our website. And then I think it's deliveries starts in January, so they have to like create them. And there's a lot of special features on the Blu-ray. So Lukas and I do a commentary, the director and writer
Nice.
commentary. So we have that on there. We have a behind the scenes video with interviews with Natasha and Lynn and Lukas and myself. There's another behind the scenes video on the making of the music, the score that was written by Stefan Schmidt. Hopefully the music video will make it on there if we get it done in time. And then there'll be a little blooper reel and some deleted scenes. So that's all on the Blu-ray. The
Nice.
DVD is just the film, but yeah, the Blu-ray will have all of that. So, so then, sorry, back to where you can find me. I think I finished saying that. Yeah, the Instagram is kind of my main space that I live. And my next project is a romantic comedy. So very different. It takes place in the romance novel world. The script was written by Rachel Kempf. It's so fun. It's won a ton of awards. And so hopefully we'll be going into production in maybe next fall in Austin. I'm looking for a few more executive producers to help us. So anyone out there who wants to be a part of it, reach out.
How can they reach you for that? Is there something on your website?
There is, yes, on jumprockpictures.com. You can fill out a form on there, or I'm pretty good on my Instagram. If you just message me on there, I'll find you that way. Although it is busy right now, a lot of people are, and you were one of them, you know, or I guess I reached out to you. Maybe we messaging sort of back and forth to do with the film and everything, which is exciting. So, but yeah, just kind of do the Googles. I think someone found my email address out there. So good.
Oh, fantastic. So that's going to be the next one, right? The romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
are there other genres you want to mess around with?
I have two other scripts that I am loving right now, and they're both dramas. One is a period piece, takes place in the 80s in Kansas, which is kind of fun to look at. And the two writers that I've found are talented and have some interesting things. So yeah, I think it is interesting. As I started this journey, I've had a few people tell me, "Oh, well, you just did thriller horror. You have to do that again," which I would love to do. But also, I want to do what I like, and I can do any genre. So yeah, I have a comedy Western out there too. You can see the poster. That's called Javelina Run right there. It was a proof of concept for a feature. You can see the trailer on my website, and maybe someday I'll make that feature too.
Oh, well, fantastic. I mean, hey, as I said, look, after House of Abraham, I'm down for whatever the hell you do next. So I'm
Thank you.
looking forward to this romantic comedy, and checking out the music video when that drops. Yeah, I'm locked in now, Lisa. You've got me.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, right back at you. I'm going to go back and watch some of your old podcasts. So I'm excited for the one you mentioned.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you giving me your time today. So thank you for that. And let me, watch the film because I absolutely loved it. House of Abraham is fantastic. Congratulations on a phenomenal feature directorial debut.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, watch it out there and let us know what you think. Comment on the socials and share your thoughts. Thanks.
People, all the links will be on the webpage for this episode, so there are no excuses. Check out House of Abraham, because it is legitimately, it's just fantastic, right? If you like thrillers, just, I mean, just as I said, Usual Suspects, like Hannibal, Silence of the Lambs, just all of those things, right? Seven. If you love those type of films, then House of Abraham, boom, it will definitely be for you. So check it out, and if you can, check it out on Gabba, because it's all about supporting indie film people. So do that, and yeah. If you want to executive produce, hit Lisa up for the next project. And yeah, that's it. Lisa, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. And when you are ready to talk about the next joint, the door is wide open for you. So stop by.
All right, I'll be here. See you then.
Awesome. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, Lisa. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Awesome. That
Oops.
was, oh,
Was it done? Okay.